Namaskar. Hello and welcome to PGurus channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer. Today I have with me Sri Sumit Pirji, and we are going to talk about a very interesting question that the world is acknowledging. Why India remains the shining star even as the world economy is falling. And let me welcome our guest of the evening, and I'm going to put up one chart for you that will kind of set the context for this conversation. Let's welcome Sumit Pirji. Sumit ji, namaskar and welcome to PGurus channel.
Namaskaram, sir. Pranam to you, pranam to all the viewers, and vanakkam to all.
Thank you, sir, and wish you the same. And thanks for coming at this earlier time. We wanted to make sure that more people get to listen to it, and that's why we try to, make it at 8 p.m. So, Sumiji, I'm going to put a chart for you, and I want you to kind of explain to our viewers why the world thinks the way it is thinking right now. Can we have the chart, please? So, this is a chart which is you can't clearly see. There you go. Recession probabilities worldwide in 2023, and they are saying that United Kingdom has a 75% chance of going into recession, and if you go down that route, US has 65%, Germany somewhere in that ballpark, but come all the way down, India has 0% of going into a recession. 0%. That means it is not going to go into recession, it is going to experience growth. In fact, if you remember in DGI, Sridharji had mentioned that for the next 24 months or 12 months, fully 25 to 30% of the world growth is going to come from one country, and that is going to be India. So a lot of things going for India. It's got the tailwind, and that means that it's going to go even faster. So let's first look at the pros and cons. How true is this? And let's see what Sumiji has to say about it, because I have a few more follow-up questions once he has an opening statement. Go ahead, and the floor is yours, Sumiji.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for having me on the show. In fact, when we look at this chart, there are a couple of reasons which are very tangible and which are very direct, which lead us to this conclusion. Not us, why is world leading to this conclusion? First of all, India is an internal consuming economy. That is the first thing. We are not the economy which is dependent on external exports like China. Second important thing is that, there's a lot of production which happens in-house. That's the point number two. Point number three, if you look at our recent exports have crossed $770 billion, which makes us in the top 5 exporters in the world. That's now point number four. Now, if you look at the outlook, because I had predicted in a couple of shows by 2030, our goods will be $1.5 billion and our services will be $500 billion. That will give us $2 trillion.
I think the first number is 1.5 trillion.
1.5 trillion, yes. 1.5 trillion and another 500 billion. So that will give us 2 trillion. Now, very recently, 𝗑𝗓𝘅 has given a mission statement or a vision statement how India is going to do that. Now, how it is possible? In fact, my assessment is it might go still better, because if you look at Operation Gati Shakti, if you look at Bharat Mala, Sagar Mala, and if you look at the rupee trade, if you combine all the three, this is going to have a better impact. Why? Because today, if you look at the logistics cost, our logistics cost is around 11 to 12%, which is one of the highest in the world. Now, if you look at the logistics cost of Germany is around 4 to 5%. Now, with this Operation Gati Shakti, which is the brainchild of Honorable Prime Minister Modi, wherein freight corridors, dedicated rail links, transport corridors, and all will be that will bring down our transport cost around 5.5%. That means every Indian business will be viable by 7 to 8%. 7 to 8% is a big number at a global stage. Now, with Bharat Mala, Sagar Mala, see the number of ports we are building, see the number of infrastructure we are building, see the mechanization of ports we are doing, wherein all the ports will be mechanized, automatic handling, automatic clearance, the state-of-art technology. So the things are beefed up. Rail corridors, freight corridors, cold storages, that is being built up. Now, the third thing is that, today we have already agreements with 19 countries for the rupee trade. Now, incidentally, if we look at the world stage, dollar, euro, pound, and fourth circulated currency or accepted currency as we talk today, even today, is India rupee. So India rupee has already reached the number 4 stage. Now we know the moment it reaches around 40 to 50 countries, which is a matter of time, it will enter IMF's basket, and now it will become an international currency. Now imagine it going to 30, 40, 50 countries. Now all these countries which have rupee with them, they are again going to buy they are again going to buy goods or services from us. That will enhance our exports. That will enhance, it will be either goods or services which will enhance our exports. I won't be surprised 20 years down the line, we may surpass China. Because even already a lot of think tanks are thinking that by 20...
We have momentarily lost Sumit ji, and I'm sure he's going to rejoin in just a moment. Request to like this video and also to please like, share, and subscribe to this channel if you have not already done so. And also, please click on the bell button for notifications. We know that 90% of you are actually consuming this video on your smartphones, which is good. It's very handy. And for you to get the notifications on smartphones, especially on some particular models, I'm told that you have to enable the bell notification so you get notified as soon as the video goes online. We try to put 2 to 3 videos every day on channel 1 and 1 to 2 videos on channel 2. And depending on which one you subscribe to, you will get notifications. In fact, it would be our wish that you subscribe to both the channels. That way you don't miss any content. Anyway, that's just my request. And while we wait for Sumit PhD, this is what he was talking about, that the recession probabilities basically tells us that very soon, because of the fact that India is going to have one, purple patch in the entire world about growth, that India will probably be a member of the special drawing rights, or it's called SDR, essentially a basket of currency. It's the next best to having a dollar as the reference currency of the world. So that means it becomes more inclusive. 4 or 5 currencies are going to be there. Already there are 3. I think one of the ones that are right up there is India's rupee. So that's what Sumit ji was saying, and he's now back. Sumit ji, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I don't know what happened, suddenly it conked off. So by 2039, the Chinese economy will start showing the cracks, and China may not last as an economy for long. Now, another reason is that, Make in India and AatmaNirbhar Bharat. Under Make in India and AatmaNirbhar Bharat, we have a phenomenal push amount of manufacturing which we are doing. Now, as per the statistics which is available in the open market, after China, India is the factory of the world in terms of the goods and services produced. If you compare the service economy, we have overtaken UK around 2 years back as the biggest service economy. The manufacturing is increasing. Now, for example, if we talk of defense, now 60% of the goods which we used to import once upon a time are made in India. The industrial production is up. Another thing is the availability of the capital. We have the 3rd highest foreign exchange reserves in the world, and the inflation is quite under control. If we look at 5.6 vis-a-vis what is going in Europe is around 8.8 to 10.8. That is the average what is going in Europe. Another thing is that we have more than 800 million youth, and our demographic dividend is going to remain that for next 70 years. 70 years is a big time. What is our median age? Our median age is only 28 years. And if I look at China, it is around 12 years higher than us. Not only that, the purchasing power, which is increasing from number 2 and number 3 cities, tier 2, tier 3 cities and the villages. If we look at today, every second there are there are around 2 people or 3 people who are joining the internet. Now, we have sold around 1.2 billion smartphones already. Smartphones means that which is internet enabled. The cost of GB per India is lowest in the world. We are the highest consumers of data in the world. Not only that, if you look at the debt of the country, now, for example, if I look at the US cumulative debt, it was, I think, $34.1 trillion as we speak. If I look at the Chinese cumulative debt, the Chinese cumulative debt is $53 trillion. That is approximately more than 50% of the global GDP. Now, if I look at Indian debt, it's $2.28 trillion, and the external debt is only $600 billion. So the debt is under control. Economic outlook, for example, if I compare India with say United Kingdom, I think United Kingdom, it is 0.1 or -3, 0.1 or -3, somewhere around that. India 6.2 to 6.8. That is how it is happening. If I look at the FDI, the number 1 FDI destination in the world is India. If I look at the startups, from 2014, where we had I think a few hundred startups. Now we are the 3rd biggest startup ecosystem in the world. The cumulative wealth generated by startups is more than $330 billion, and it has created more than 800,000 jobs, direct jobs. Not only that, in every 12 days, we're adding a unicorn. We've crossed more than 100 unicorns. So, and now the kind of manufacturing which is coming to India is helping it to grow. There's a competition between the states various states of the union, who is going to attract how much of manufacturing can each state attract. Now, if I add to that the incentives which are given, tax holidays, export promotion zones, startups get a holiday, the corporate tax is reduced in India, and it's around 25%, which is one of the lowest in the world. Now, even in this budget, the income tax slabs have been reduced a bit. Now, the GST collection, goods and services tax, which we did, I think last month, was 1,60,000 crores, and it is coming up, and it is coming up more and more. If I look at the people who have entered the tax net after Prime Minister Modi has taken over, it is 3 times the people who have entered the tax net. So with all these things happening, the quantum of the growth, the service of the growth, we are filing the highest number of patents, across the world. Now, if you look at solar, we are the leaders. If you look at pharma, we are the leaders. Food production, we are the leaders. Now, space, we are the leaders. Now, even solar, we are the leaders now. So there are a lot of technologies and all which we are developing now, which we are constantly developing and which we are enhancing. Yes, sir. You had a question?
Sumit, we still have very wildly fluctuating internet. Is there a possibility you can try a different internet? It's now improved, but whenever a few minutes again, it just takes a dive. Make sure that you have the fastest internet possible, sir.
Is it better? Let me try to, just give me a second.
You'll know which is your golden internet. That make sure that you are on that one.
Yeah, I'm moved to the best internet. So I don't know what.
Wonderful. Yeah, now I think it is improving now. Please continue, sir. I have a few questions, but I'll let you finish your thought.
So these are the things which we are not a heavily leveraged economy. We are an internal consumer economy. We are not dependent on exports. We are building our industries. Now, there's one thing which the Honorable Prime Minister has a vision: vocal for local. Now, for example, if I look at Khadi, which was a dying industry, now is making millions of dollars as profit. Now, if I look at Amul is a cooperative. Amul is the biggest FMCG brand in India. It has beaten Unilever and people like Nestle. Now, every one district, we have more than 700 districts in India. In every one district, we have identified a product. We have identified the average. We are not exporting the raw material. We are not just exporting the product as it is. We are doing the value addition. Once the value addition is done, then we are doing the exports of the product. So these are the things which are helping us to develop. We are developing industry as per the raw materials available, as per the talent available, as per the skills available. In every 2 districts, we have a plan of having one engineering college, and in every district, we have a plan of having one medical college. Eventually, down the line, what I know personally, the plan is that one IIT, one IIM, and one AIIMS will be in every district of India. So with this kind of a reach, wherein we are developing the industry, where we have incentives for the industry, where we have tax holidays, where the debt entry is not heavy indebted, where we are increasing our exports, we have developed some industries where we are commanding. Even in the weapons, where we were net importers, now we have become the exporters. We are already exporting around $1.5 billion of weapons, and around 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line, we'll be doing around $100 billion. Now, another thing is semiconductors. We're building the infrastructure for semiconductors. Now, as you know, every semiconductor plant, if we put in a factory, so-called, is $20 to $50 billion, or even $100 billion if you're talking for a bigger plant. It can employ around 100,000 people per plant. Now, there are 2 or 3 people have already expressed their interest, and we are doing it. By 2026 or 2028, we'll be exporting more than $300 billion of electronics goods from India. And after we have the semiconductor industry in our control, we have started making the chips. Now, for example, the laptop which I'm using, for example, it costs around 100,000 rupees. Now, after this, the cost will come down to 40,000 rupees. And even if you look at the smartphones, now we are targeting around $7 billion. Even Apple is targeting about exporting $7 billion of smartphones from India this year. Now, there was a time before 2014 we were hardly manufacturing any mobile phones. We were net importers of mobile phones, so $7 billion of exports. These quantum jumps in everything, ease of doing business, getting the affordable housing. We have given more than 20 million houses, which is the highest in the world, to the people who need those houses. Our Jal Shakti mission has reached every nooks and corners. We have increased the highway infrastructure of the country like anything. We have after United States of America, we have the number 2 biggest highway network in the world in terms of kilometers and in terms of range. And in this budget, 10 lakh crores of infrastructure pushes there. So if I combine all these things, and if I look at all, and ease of living, we have come up, ease of doing business, we have come, availability of capital has been made. I was last time sharing about what was the condition of banks before 2014 and what is the condition of the same banks now. From NPAs of 14.5% and a loss of around 80,000 crores. The same set of banks today have NPAs of 4.5% and there's expected to be a profit of 1 lakh crores. Even one more thing I want to mention here before I end, because there's a lot in my mind, is the Mudra scheme. Now, in Mudra scheme, we have given these small loans, 50,000, 1 lakh rupees, 2 lakh rupees, to more than 12.42 crore people. So out of them, 60 to 70% of the people who have taken loans are women. Now, these, and the NPA is hardly 3%. Now, these people have started small businesses. Now, if you look at the United States, for example, the main GDP contributors are the small businesses, which contribute around 60% of the total GDP. Now, this Mudra loan kind of a scheme where we are promoting unitary entrepreneurship. The startup ecosystem I talked about, the startup ecosystem is fine, I talked about, but we are also talking about this Mudra scheme wherein the unitary entrepreneurship is promoted, and it goes to villages, it goes to towns, it goes to the smallest towns. And for example, as I mentioned, that Amul is the biggest FMCG brand in India with sales of 72,000 crores. It's around $10 billion I'm talking about. It has taken Nestle and Unilever. So these are the kind of changes which are happening at the grassroots level. And last point I want to mention, there was a time there were hardly 10 to 12% of the total women which were involved in the economy, which were working. We had the highest amount of dependent population. Now the fertility rate of the country is under control around 2.1, 2.2, slightly defines from community to community. Now today, as per the new data which is available, the women folk which is contributing in the economy is around 27%, some say it is 34%. Because if I take an average of 32%, well, that is the percentage of women folk contributing to the economy. Now, if you combine the composite effect of all of that, you will see why we are resilient, why we are recession-proof, and why we are growing and developing. And one last sentence I want to say, I keep on saying that, but sorry, this is the last sentence, is that when you look at, for example, medicine industry, we are number 3rd by value. But when you will look at the value, we are 7th by value. We are not number 3rd by value. So that means a lot of people, a lot of diseases in the world are liberated. A lot of people are cured because of the Indian medicines which we have. And I want to mention one thing which I mentioned yesterday in one of the TV debates is we have a concept called Jan Aushadhi. Jan Aushadhi is medicine for all. For example, if I do a broad level comparison, don't quote me on actuals. Let's say there's a medicine which, and Pfizer or Roche or somebody like that, which costs, let's say, for example, 100 rupees a tablet in United States of America or in London. The same medicine, by the law of average, will cost around 10 rupees here. 10 rupees in a retail by GSK or Cadila or micro laboratories. It will cost somewhere around 10 rupees here. Now, a revolution has been started by Prime Minister Modi with thousands of shops which are already working across the country in all the major hospitals. Now, in those, we call them Jan Aushadhi. The same tablet, because after 10 years, you don't have to pay for the patents. The medicine which is out of the patents, so the patents don't have to be paid, which is 80-90% of the medicine formulas available right now. Same tablet will be for 1, 2 or 3 rupees, 70, 80 or 90% discount from the prevailing India retail prices. And Ayushman Bharat, wherein 5 lakh rupees of insurance is given to more than 50 crore people. 50 crore people. It's half of the population of the country. A 5 lakh rupees insurance is given to them. And it is applicable in a government hospital, in a private hospital, in everywhere. So these are the things. This is the push. This is what is helping us to propel and go to the next level, where we are creating resources, where we are consuming resources, where we are dividing resources, and where we are optimizing resources. Srisa.
Thank you so much for that. And I have another chart to share with you and our viewers. Let's put the second chart up, please. Now, these are the looking at 3 decades, from 1992, 2008, and 2024, which is next year. If you look at the countries that had the highest GDP on earth, India was not even on the map till 2008. India wasn't there, and yet now India has suddenly jumped to number 3 in 2024. Already we are seeing that it is number 3 in terms of purchasing power parity. India is already at number 3, and it is number 5 on nominal GDP. That's going to probably right itself very soon. My question is, Sumitji, this is a great chart to say that India has come of age, that India matters, and then India is a very big player in several segments of the economy around the world. But my question to you, Sumitji, is let's close that thing. Yeah. My question to you, Sumitji, is this is a problem that US is suffering, and I'm sure India is going to suffer the same thing very soon. What has happened in US is after COVID, many people during COVID, they were getting free money, essentially free money. They didn't have to go to work. They were getting free money. Now, the United States government is finding it extremely difficult to ask people that we are not going to give you any more freebies. You have to get back to work, and this is it. And there's a job waiting for you. You need to go back to work. Many people don't want to go to work. They're used to not working and getting paid. This is basically a welfare state. I'll give you the situation in India. India is right now still supplying pulses, grains, seeds, and so on to 800 million or 80 crore people. That means almost 6 in 10. Mota, right?
Correct.
The problem is when India tries to turn this tap off, I have a feeling that this is not going to be turnable off. The reason is you already have Manrega, same problem. Manrega cannot be turned off. Prime Minister Modi, when he was a chief minister, he used to rail against Manrega. But when he became prime minister, all he did was, let's make sure that the 10,000 or whatever the amount that is promised to the farmer goes to his account. So Jan Dhan Yojana came. So at least the inefficiencies have been wrung out of the system. Very good. Now, the question is that these are drag winds. India has got tailwind, but it also has drag winds. I'm using airplane parlance here just to drive home a point. Sumitji, do you think that this could stifle the growth in India, and what kind of a plan does the Modi government have to wean people off of these?
She said the answer is in 3 parts. First of all, let's talk about the United States of America. Traditionally the model has changed, because in my opinion, that is how I look at it. Traditionally in US, dollar was the global currency, which it is now kind of a bit shaky. It is no longer the global currency, because I would not say that de-dollarization has kind of taken over, but it has kind of started. The de-dollarization at the global level has kind of started. That's point number 1. Point number 2 is, in the Russian-Ukrainian war, the American government decided to weaponize the dollar, like by freezing the Russian accounts, by taking them out of the SWIFT and all. Suddenly that sent shockwaves across the whole world saying, look, can you still hold the dollar? Because you're holding the dollar, and tomorrow if the government of the America wants, you can just freeze your dollars and you are out of the game. So even if you look at India, for example, if you go to the RBI website, there are 3 changes you will see. The quantum, I've been asked this question a lot of, and the quantum of dollars in the reserve has decreased, euros have increased, and we have increased the gold levels. So these are the 2-3 things which we have done. Right. And incidentally, I want to mention, if we look at our import list, there are 2 things which are very high. One is the petroleum products. Second is the gold. They are the 2 highest things on our import list, which we import. And if I talk of gold, and there's a lot of jigsaw puzzle around the gold. We consume around 780 tons of gold a year. 380 or something is imported. And you will not believe me, sir, more than 340 tons are smuggled. This is a real number.
Yes, that's true.
This is mind-boggling, but this is true. We live with that. And now if you look recently with our deal with Russians, we are buying a substantial amount of petroleum from them, where we are giving in rupees. That is helping us to maintain our foreign exchange reserves and not to give out dollars. Now, if you look at the UAE, the 200,000 tons of gold which we're trying to 200,000 tons of gold which we're trying to buy with them. 2 lakh kgs of gold we were trying to buy with them. Not tons, kgs of gold we were trying to buy with them. We are trying to deal this again with rupees. Now, GCC countries are coming and they want to do FTA with us, because Saudis will not come directly and want to sell petroleum in rupees, because they have their compulsions. But as a GCC FTA, they can what we are talking, we can do rupee trading. Now, Eurasian countries, earlier it was Russia, now the Eurasian countries are also talking of a FTA where that mutual settlement will be in rupees. Now, there's one important possibility which I think, when all these countries, let's say 20, 25, 30, 35 of them have Indian rupee, they can do two things. One, they can deal with us in rupees, and they can even deal amongst themselves with the rupees. This is a strong possibility because I'm imagining 30, 40 countries have rupee reserves. So a Saudi can buy something from, let's say, for example, from Spain, for example, in rupees, right? They both have rupees. They can even do trade with rupees. So that will be the silver lining. That is the way I see. Now, coming to the question. Now, initially, what I know, what is in the open media, that US has printed more than $7 trillion. Now, with the amount of dollars which the world is requiring is going a bit down today. Now, the inflation within the US is increasing. The traditional model has been you print the dollars, you hold it back. When the local currencies start falling, you release the dollar. So the inflation generated here passes on there. So the cost of capital or the interest rates in US were remaining very, very constant. Now, the rise of interest rates in US is a example that the need or the demand of dollar within the global economy is a bit lower now. Is not as what used to be around 2 years back, and the weaponization of dollar has not worked, unfortunately, for the US economy. And I was looking at the balance sheets of a lot of American MNCs. They work on a very small pad, 1%, 1.5%, 2%, but the cost of capital is very low. But at the same time, if the cost of capital goes up, a lot of businesses may be unviable because then they can't manage it 1.5%, 2% pad. Now, if I come to here, India, what did we do? We did not give any cash dole-outs. We did not give any money. We did not give anything to anybody. We are not giving out any cash assistance. There was a lot of pressure on Prime Minister Modi to print money. Even Mr. Chidambaram was of the view, print money and give the money. So he resisted from that. Rather than, what did we do? We have a lot of food. We have a lot of food surplus. We have a lot of grains. We have a lot of wheat, pulses, and all, which we grow much than what we need. And if you look at our FCA, Food Corporation of India, go downs, we have more than 2 years of wheat and we have more than 1.5 years of pulses and all, which are in store. So what did we do? We used that and gave to the people. That helped in two things. So their food and basic needs were taken care of. And secondly, that also helped us to pull out a lot of people from the extreme poverty. Now, rather than wasting these grains or rather than printing the money, which could have skyrocketed the inflation. I mean, I was looking around a year back, the inflation in US was around 10.1%, 41 years high. Rather than doing that, we're using them to, so that they get this. And they get this atta, chal, dawal, what we call food, rice and lentils, rather than they are getting the money. Because food and all, still they need money to pay bills, they need money for transport, they need money to pay school fees, they need money for medicines, they need money for a lot of things. They will help them not to get in extreme poverty, not to get in starvation, but at the same time they need money. And what we are distributing is what we have already in excess. We have this Emma, you know about the Kisan protest and all, wherein they were fighting about the MSP. So we have a lot of these things where the government has to procure them. And they were in our godowns, they were lying there. So rather than we are kind of utilizing them, but not printing the money. So we chose not to print the money, whereas Americans chose to print the money. And so we chose a different method. And this different method is giving dividends because after food and rice or lentils, you still need a money for a lot of things. So that is not stopping people from going to work. But at the same time, we are also doing affordable housing from them. We are doing Jan Aushadhi for them. We are doing AatmaNirbhar Bharat for them. But still the need of money remains there, which propels them to work. So it's not they are getting cash and they're using it whichever they want. Yeah, we are making sure they don't starve. We are making sure they are taken out of the extreme poverty. And if you look at the latest report, I don't know who issued that. It was very recent report, 2 days back. I think, to best of my knowledge, there are only 15 million people out of 1.4 billion people, 15 million people which are in extreme poverty. Or, it's a matter of a month or 2 or 3, we would have eliminated extreme poverty in India. That is how I see it different. So our interest rates have not gone up. Our inflation has not gone up. We have not touched 40, 50 years high inflation. And the quantum of workforce, what we have, the people going to the work has not reduced, if you look at the numbers. So we are doing good, and we are also utilizing what we have in excess, rather than letting it, go into waste or changing it into different things. For example, I'll give you an example. we stopped exporting. We were exporting a lot of broken rice. We have this quality called broken rice to China. We stopped exporting that because in China that was used to make noodles and the animal feed. So kind of we did those things which were in our national interest, but at the same time, this distribution of packets of ration, what we call them, and what we have is a national ration card. That means this ration card, you can get your rations in anywhere in the country, wherever you are. If you're a migrant labor, your wife might be in a village in Bihar and you might be working in Andhra Pradesh. So you can collect your rations from Andhra Pradesh and your wife can collect your rations from a village depot near her village. So that is also what has been done. And by doing DBT to direct benefit transfer of various schemes, like doing DBT of LPG subsidy, we have saved billions of dollars which were getting wasted, which were getting dispersed, which were getting here. So money to accounts, Jandan, Aadhaar, mobile, these food packets. And if you look at our industrial output, if you look at the quantum of workforce, which is back to work, it has not changed. It has increased and the industrial output is all-time high. The GST collection of 1,60,000 crores was the highest so far, sir.
See, I'm sorry, but you haven't answered my basic question. Are they going to wean people off of these pulses anytime soon, maybe after 2024 elections, or are they going to budget it just like the way Manrega has been budgeted now, so that it becomes like an expense category? There's a problem with that. Come to that in a minute. Please go ahead.
Sure. I think right now, I don't see that there are any plans of pulling that off, but it might be reduced. But even if you go to Manrega and Narega, earlier what Manrega was we were just given money to do something. Now, if you look at the Manrega scheme, what we have done is we are creating those in Amrit Sarovar project, wherein we are creating those millions of ponds in villages, in provinces and all, which will help to retain the water level on the groundwater level. So now the people in Manrega and Narega have to be given work rather than, kind of what we call in Hindi ki sadak hote aur usi ko bharte the. Rather they were digging at the well and trying to fill the same well. We are using them for this Amrit Sarovar project. We are even around our highways, we are creating these multiple water bodies so that the rainwater can be retained and overall groundwater level of the India can be increased. So Manrega and Narega will come on, and with this food scheme, I think as long as we have surplus, because we have surplus in food grains. I mean, Sri sir, there has been a lot of food grain which has been rotting in India in FCA godowns. You have seen that.
Yes, because that's true.
There was a rain, and so many 1,000 tons of wheat got destroyed, so many 1,000 tons of pulses got destroyed. And I, with due respects, I don't want to demean anybody. Our rodents were getting healthier and fatter. So rather than having that situation, it is better we give it to the people who need it, because we are already surplus and wasting it. So rather than wasting it and turning it into molasses and it going as and going into waste, it is better to give it to the people. So we might reduce it, but as on date, I don't see there are any plans of withdrawing the scheme as such, because there's not a cost to it. Because wasting is a cost, utilization is not a cost.
Sumit ji, I have an unasked for advice. I'm very good at giving unasked for advice. The Indian government, especially the FCI godowns, on the outer walls of the FCI godowns, as well as if there is a fence around the FCI godown, these places you should put gobar water. Gobar a little bit thicker, so you put like a paste. This is an excellent disinfectant. It will keep all the rodents out.
Oh,
and
great.
And with time, the smell goes away. Within a day, it goes away. It's not like, it is just that the animals will not come. Even the insects will stay away. The pests will stay away. And this is something that's free. It's not, okay, so it might smell a little bit when it's freshly applied for a day or so. But this is a simple way to tackle some of these problems about rodents. At least you can do the outer fence to reduce the outer rodents from coming in. And then once you are inside, it's much more easier to control what is going on. Just my 2 cents, Sumit ji. Now, thank you so much for. Go ahead.
I have one. Now, what we are doing, incidentally, now because of the PPP model, we are building a lot of cold storages. Because earlier it was only the FCA, the Food Corporation of India, which was the only Maiba, what we call in Hindi, for storing food and distribution of grains. Now, a lot of private players have come, and a lot of cold storages have come, and with these dedicated freight corridors, we are able to store a lot of things locally and store them for longer. So eventually down the line, I think if you look at the per hect per hectare yield, we have increased that substantially. We are trying to decrease the amount of fertilizers used and the quantity and the quantum of fertilizers used. And at the same time, we are also storing it. For example, I'll give you an example of sugarcane. Now, sir, in sugarcane, if you're not able to squeeze the cane within 24 hours, it loses 50% of the sugar value. So these are also the challenges what we face, and we have these extreme weather conditions here. So with development of freight corridors and industry and cold storages and all, the quantum of food waste what we have, that would be reduced substantially. And now the food processing industry will only start in the form it should be once you have these cold storage and you have these various storage facilities which are there. And even I think people like Mr. Gautam Adani and all, they're already in this business, and a lot of work is being done around that, so that we are able to minimize this uh, criminal waste. I would call it a criminal waste, because even in as per Sanatan, wasting food and is a criminal waste. And when we have so many people in the world who are still starving and who don't have food, we know a lot of African countries who are literally starving for grains. So in the long run, we might even have plans to give them these grains or supply these grains to them who need them. For example, if you look at Afghanistan, see the amount of wheat we have sent to Afghanistan. Once through Pakistan, second time we sent through the Chawar port. So we are doing these things, and there's a work in progress. There's a lot to be done, and our agriculture is getting efficient, and the amount of fertilizers and all, we are getting them reduced. And one latest innovation I want to share. In India, we have this concept of carrying the bohra, this sack on your head as a farmer.
Yeah.
There's a 50-kilo urea bag. It comes in urea bags. First, urea was smuggled, used for various things. Then Modi ji came and he did this neem-coated urea, where he put the neem coating on it. So no other use except agriculture can be done. But still, the challenge was carrying that 50 kg bag on your head and then dropping it here. It was time, energy, and money. And the transport is a big cost. Now, what we have come with recently, we've come up with a nano urea. So a 500 or a 500 ml bottle has the same urea, same power as a 50-kilo sack. This nano urea was, I think, around a month or 2 months back. This was announced, and now on in India, the farmers don't need to carry those sacks on their head and put it in their fields. The nano urea, which is highly portable, highly useful, will be the new revolution, and the distribution and the cost of it will also reduce, because transport cost, storage cost, and all the costs will also come down. Sir.
Thank you so much. And now let's open the floor for questions. Please go ahead. Lasting Hope wants to know, why doesn't Bharat use its free trade agreement to demand return of loot of all it's sitting in Museum of England? Clearly, our enemies need us more than as usual than we rarely ever do. Basically, what he's saying is, why don't you include that in the FTA?
Now, incidentally, sir, namaskar. If you look at I'll share some statistics with you. Now, if you look at I think you're mentioning here about the UK. Now, if you look at the UK here, if you look at the trade, our trade with UK is number 17. So we are not dependent on trade with UK. That's point number one. Indians are the number 3rd investors in UK, right? But if you look at the economy of the UK, if you look at the things in the UK, a lot of people with a lot of money bags are welcome in UK. There's around $1 trillion of money laundering which happens in a year. So there are a lot of things which are there, which is a compulsion. And for example, Mr. Rishi Sunak or anybody cannot do that, because the rules of the constitution is written like that. What we discussed last time, all these privileges are there in the rule book. Unless until you go and change constitution, nothing is going to change. Now, incidentally, there is a confirmed news on in our media, that because of inaction against so-called Khalistanis in UK, we have not seen any action. Well, in the United States of America, we have seen action happening. We have seen action happening in Australia, but in UK and Canada, unfortunately, we have not seen any action happening. The talks on free trade agreement are a bit slow now. So they are kind of slowed down, and there are some things which we have started demanding. There are some things which we don't want them to agree and acknowledge. So this is a grey point talk. They're not in the open media, so I won't be able to list them out categorically, but there are some things which we have asked them to agree, acknowledge, and respect now.
Thank you so much. Next question, please. Rahul Rathod wants to know, hypothetically, if reforms were introduced in 70s instead of 91, India's GDP could have been near equal to US because unlike China, India had private sector in 1947. Your view, sir?
Sir, the problem is, if I can be candid and direct, we wasted a lot of years in so-called non-aligned movement. We wasted a lot of years in Young Turks. We wasted a lot of years in a lot of fancy projects. It was only in 90s when literally we had to pledge our gold and we were having 2 weeks of money to buy petroleum products. We opened up the economy. If you go to China, it happened in 70s. We did it in 90s. So we lost around 20-25 years to China. But even after 90s, the things changed. Let me give you one example. Now, if you look at, there's around $1 trillion of FDI which has come into India so far. Now, if you look in last 18 months, $532 billion came in last 18 to 19 months. Now, if you look at how many years it took us to make 1 trillion. Now, if you look at after subsequently the amount of time which it used to make us 1 trillion, because when you open the economy, you have to change the culture of the place. You have to change the mindset. You have to get from that sarkari nokri government job culture to entrepreneurship. And still, I was addressing this Lucknow Management Association recently, and UP's chief secretary was there, and I told him, sir, what we need to focus on, unitary entrepreneurship. Startups are good. I love them. I respect them. But looking at our quantum of our population, looking at our demographic divide, looking at our women folk, looking at our dependent population ratio, we need to focus on unitary entrepreneurship. So the schemes like Mudra and these schemes wherein the people can make self-sustaining, profitable entrepreneurship units, that will be the key for the India to grow. So these are the things which is work in progress. So we lost around 20-25 years to China. And to be honest, if you want to go beyond the level, you need to have a very big infrastructure. It is only in recent last 4-5 years, there's a lot of push on infrastructure. Because we are a country wherein a person will tell us, why do you need a bullet train? Hey, yeah, honestly, this is why do you need a bullet train? And then I want to ask them, why do you need so many planes? Why don't we use bullock carts? Why do you need an airport? Why are you wasting money? Why do you need an express highway? What is the express highway? I mean, we have to face such challenges and we have to face allegations like, I'll give you an example, just on the lighter note. Akhilesh Bhaiya, he in an election rally tells, in Rafale, first you had 2 seats for pilots. Then Modi ji did a deal with French, it's only 1 seat. So he siphoned out the money. And Akhilesh Bhaiya is an engineer. When the vaccine came, when the world's best vaccine and the cheapest vaccine hit India, sir, we were told ye BJP ki vaccine. This vaccine belongs to BJP. When Samajwadi Party will come to power, we'll make our own vaccine, then we'll use it. But Akhilesh Bhaiya was the first one to get himself inoculated. And he also put the photo on the Twitter. These are the practical challenges, Rathod Saab, we live in, we face with, and we have to go with them. And the kind of demographic divide we have, and the grapevine which is available, the caste divides we have, the ethnic divides, the regional divides, the language divides we have, anything can be brewed into a mountain here, and that mountain can just dismantle you, and this can be a mountain of illusion. Creating a mirage, a political mirage in this country is not difficult. It's a lot of fight on the ground practically, sir. It's not easy.
Next question, please. Ishan, thank you. Thank you so much for your fight against anti-Indian policies like SB 403. But do note that we have mostly been on the defensive, rarely on the offensive on the narrative front. Ishan, you are absolutely right. This question is for me, Sumitji. You're absolutely right. But things are happening. We are not going to play our hands and show what we are going to do. Just wait for a few more days. At least you will admit that 3 months ago, there wasn't this kind of a resistance. And now there is a fair amount of resistance and pushback. And it's going to only increase. The other side is gasping for air right now. And do watch PGurus program, because we're going to share a few things that probably will tell you how things are going to play out in the longer run. Next question. Thank you, Murali. Next question, please. We're scrambling to see the next question. There you go. Mr. Shree's other son. The vacillating West defamation of India deters people-to-people contact. Do their elites intend to own her assets and control her levers of power first before showing India in a positive light?
Mr. Sri, Namaskaram. Sir, what the question is that, I'll take a minute to explain this. You see, if you look before 2014, there has been a group of elite, you're right, which has been controlling the power. And what we call as Khan Market Gang, we call as Lutyens Gang, we call as Lutyens Elite. And we had even those extra constitutional bodies like NAC, National Advisory Council. I don't need to mention who were the people and who were staying with our prime minister, who were deciding all the contracts, who were deciding promotions, transfers, and how did our media know who is going to become the minister, who is going to become a district magistrate, who a SP, or who is going to be the next minister, in the cabinet. So the lobbies were working, things were working, and these people have power. And if you look at some of these people, they are worth millions of dollars today, millions of dollars, right? Maybe some of them are billionaires. And if you look at their known sources of income, their incomes might be in thousands of dollars per year. So there are people who have concentrated the power, who took the power, and they wanted to have a narrative which suited them, which was as per their whims and fancies. And for example, Mr. Rahul Gandhi talking that Hindu terror. I mean, there's nothing called as Hindu terror. But this Hindu terror was given or told to Americans that Hindu terror is more dangerous than the Islamic terror, but there's nothing called the Hindu terror. You've seen people like Colonel Purohit suffering. You have seen how thus Colonel Hani Bakshi's team was disbanded and what he had to go through. So there have been these people who have been trying to control the power, the corridors of power, narratives, money, everything. Now there's a movement wherein, and it is a scalar chain, what you call in US, it's like a gravy train. It's not the one person, it's like a gravy train which moves on. Now, if you want to dismantle that and if you want to get a new set of people, so it is a big transition which is happening. For example, 20 years back in time, could you, sir, imagine that there will be a boy who used to sell chai on a railway platform become the Prime Minister of India? Unthinkable. A monk, Yogi Adityanath, who was a monk in a temple, he could become the UP's chief minister and one of the most powerful chief ministers of India. Unthinkable. Could you imagine a tribal woman who was literally picking up hay sticks or was picking up the firewood to burn her, to do her cooking, becoming the president of India? These things are unthinkable. There were only a group of elite or the group who will control everything. Now, when the transition of power happens from that elite, it is painful. It creates a lot of sweat and blood. It creates a lot of air, and it creates a lot of problems. And these are the people who will go and look holes in your model and will punch holes at a drop of a hat. You have to do one mistake. For us, you have to be successful all the time. For them, they have to be successful once. The recent example I will give you, with a stone on my heart, I'll give you. You know what happened in Pulwama. And you have seen the interview of Mr. Malik. I rest my case. That explains your everything.
Srinivas Vithala wants to know, will India's GDP uplift the lower strata of the society, or will it be lopsided development, particularly with population growth higher in the north than south?
Now, Srinivas, namaskar. Now, if you see what I was trying to earlier in my monologue was, now if we see today, the growth is coming from tier B and C cities. That is where the growth is coming. Now, A cities are kind of where they are. Now, if you see the new apartments, where are they built? If you see where are the retail sales coming from? If you see where are the new retail stores opening up? If you see where are the two-wheelers being sold? If you see where are the LED TVs being sold? They're all going to the villages and all. Yes, the growth in the fertility rate in the north is higher than the fertility rate in south. But eventually, if you look at the fertility rate of the country, it's 2.1, 2.2. But there's a difference between the fertility rate of Hindus and Muslims. I think Muslims is around 2.2, 2.3. Hindus is around 2, 2.1. At 2.1, you hardly replace the population. At 2.2, you are growing a bit. So as long as we're overall at a national level, we are maintaining 2.2. But if you see the prosperity in southern states is more than prosperity in northern states today. That is also the thing. You see the two-wheelers, you see the cars, you see the pakka makan, you see the amount of money spent on marriages, you see the standard of living, you see the condition of roads. It is much better. And for example, if I compare, with due respect to all the states, all are my, heart and liver. I'm trying to compare between my heart and liver. If I compare a Tamil Nadu with a Bihar, with due respect to both the places, you will see the difference. There's a difference between the two. So that is the difference, what is happening. But eventually people will realize, people have to realize, so we need more industry, because I know by 2035, 22 point, we are looking at $35.8 trillion of GDP. That is what ENY, World Bank, and a lot of people have committed. So 22 years, $22 trillion of GDP. Our every industry, for example, our space is worth more than 1 trillion. Our tourism is worth more than 1 trillion. Now the financial market, the payments market today, which we do, 66% of our money is now digital. We are doing more digital transactions in America, China, and Europe put together. The financial market today is valued at $7 trillion. So if I look at all these sectors, which are now retail, $4 to $5 trillion today. So if I look at all these sectors, we have these multi-trillion sectors which are available to us. The opportunities to cash, and I made an important point, sir, that the demographic dividend is going to be there for coming 70 years. There is no country which will have this demographic dividend till 70s. 800 million youth. All our kids are going to school. And let me share one thing more that's slightly out of the context. We are coming up with a unified health portal and a unified health scheme. I can talk an hour on that. Once we come on that, that will be the one of the best in the world, class apart in the world. For example, in women, today we have 6 diseases, 6 types of cancers which are prevalent. For 3, we have already got the vaccination settled. For 3, we are work in progress. So when this unified portal comes, it will be on blockchain, and some pilots are being done. So we'll have, like in COVID, we had this, we could select a hospital, we could go have a shot, fix a timing. With this unified portal and with the GST collections increasing and the GDP increasing, we might have this Ayushman Bharat covering everybody. And the limit might go up to 7 lakhs. That is the grey point, talk what I've heard. So there are a lot of things which are being done. There are a lot of things which are being planned. And it is an inclusive growth. Today, there is nothing which is only given in cities. There's nothing which doesn't go to a village. So we are thinking of our people from villages, towns to smaller towns, getting them into the mainstream. The people in the cities have a lot of avenues. They have a lot of opportunities. They are already doing there. So it's an inclusive growth. So these are not pockets of growth. The growth is inclusive.
Thank you so much. Next question from Sambhuta Bhattacharya. Mandirs coming up in UAE, Bahrain, and Angkor Wat restoration going on. What might be the extent of this Mandir ecosystem?
Bhattacharya ji, namaskar. Sir, now there is one thing I am very happy to announce, that recently Indian government has announced with a lot of pride, and I feel more proud about it, is that wherever there's a temple in the world, wherever, the restoration of that temple will be done by the government of India.
Like India did Angkor Wat. Yeah.
Wherever it is. We have in Japan, we have in Vietnam, we have in Cambodia, we have in Colombia, we have in Russia. And, if you do a lot of, I keep on seeing on Twitter, if you do a lot of excavations in the world, still you will find a Shivalinga. Even if you look at Delphi in Greece, the Shivalinga is 5,200 years old, which is still in the Delphi Museum. So the Sanatan is not only in South Asia or Asia. The Sanatan has roots across the world. Now, because Sanatan is our heritage, Sanatan is our, privilege, is our existence, is our pehchan, what we call in Hindi, is what we are. Now, it is our duty to go and restore it wherever it is in the world, because that is the part of Indian culture. India is Sanatan, Sanatan is India. So that is the part of our culture. So it's a very bold move to go and restore these ecosystems. And especially in South, how does this temple ecosystem work? I'll give you an example, sir. We had 6.9 million tourists hitting India in the last financial year, which we just ended. Now, 1.65 crores tourists went to Kashmir, highest after independence. 3.5 crore tourists went to Goa. Goa was seen as the #1 tourist destination in India. Now, sir, with a lot of pride, you know what is the #1 tourist destination in India today? Kashi Vishwanath. 10 crore tourists visited there. Imagine you are spending 1,000 rupees. 1,000 into 10 crore. Just 1,000 rupees per tourist. Now, the highest booked destination in India is Kashi Vishwanath. And you all know it better than me. The richest shrine in the world is Sri Tirupati Balaji. #2 richest shrine is Mata Vaishno Devi. And let me share one more agonizing thing with you, which you must have not heard before. You know, sir, before Manoj Sinha ji and before abrogation of Article 370 and 35A, the trustee or the chairman of Sri Mata Vaishno Devi board for a lot of time was Dr. Farooq Ubla and people like him. And the money was taken from the Mata Shrine board and was used to pay salaries of the government employees. J&K government owes hundreds or thousands of crores to Sri Mata Vaishno Devi Shrine Board. Manoj Sinha ji has started returning some money. But before that, the money which you used to put on the Sri Charans of Mata was going to pay the salaries. Mata Vaishno Devi Shrine Board was the biggest revenue contributor to the erstwhile state of J&K. It is a fact. And I have said this numerous times on national TV. And there were national conference spokesperson and PDP there. I told them, this is how you are running the state. This is what has been happening here. So temple tourism and temple ecosystem is the biggest thing which is happening now. If you see Ujjain is next, then we'll have Ayodhya. And sir, about Ayodhya, I want to say one line, and I have said this on every media. Sir, we are not building Ayodhya as a Ram temple. We are building Sri Ayodhya Sri. Sri Ayodhya Sri is a Sri with 108 lakes, with the those museums, with Ramayan signs. We'll even give ample space to embassies there. We'll have forests. We'll have 3 rings. We'll have dharamshalas, hotels, 5-star hotels. It'll be built few thousand, 9,000 crores or more than that money is being invested in this. It will be bigger than, with due respect to Makkah and with due respect to Vatican, which is much bigger than that. And with a lot of pride, I'm saying one thing today. Ayodhya ji, Sri Ayodhya Sri, will be the third pole of geopolitics. Third pole of geopolitics, which we Hindus and Sanatanis deserve. We have Makkah, we have Vatican, and we have Sri Ayodhya Sri. The third pole of geopolitics will be Sri Ayodhya Sri. That is what we are building it. This will be our pehchan. This will be our announcement to the world. This will be what we are. Let the world come there. And I won't be surprised, sir, in a few years down the line when it is, I'm not talking about Ram Mandir. Ram Mandir is only maybe 2% of the whole thing. I'm talking about Sri Ayodhya Sri, the quantum of development which will happen there. It will be the most visited place in the whole world. And that will put India in the global tourist map, and World Heritage Site and all, it will be all anyways there. But that will be the most visited place. We will showcase our culture, our 1 lakh year old history to the 8 billion people of the world. And anybody can come there. We are not restricting, okay, you cannot come, you cannot come. That is the power. That is what is being built in Ayodhya. So if you look at the temple ecosystem, it's a fantastic way to have the economy running. Traditionally, temple ecosystem has helped India. And even if you look at South India, Madurai and all, you can see this prevalent running and delivering the goods. And that is how it is going to be, sir.
Thank you so much, Sumit ji. And as much as we would like to take more questions, we are hitting up against our 1 hour limit. And we always have this limit of not exceeding 1 hour. As always, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. We are going to come back on Saturday with a very compelling conversation again with Sumit Pirji. Tomorrow is also another very interesting video that you're going to get to see. And Sunday is a very big deal. On Sunday at 9 p.m. with Major General Rajiv Narayanan retired, we are going to talk about the democracies that used to exist in India over the last 5,000, 6,000 years. We're going to go and look at Vaishali. We're going to look at many other things. A lot of stuff that is going to be shared with you on Sunday night at 9 p.m. Thanks for joining again, Sumit ji, and we'll be back again on Saturday night with Sumit ji at 8 p.m. IST. Namaskar.
Shri sir, namaskar, pranam to you, and pranam and namaskar to all, sadhu and to all. It's your love and affection which keeps on going. Thank you very much. Namaskar.